The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show as we continue the summer of 2015 at 10. A look back at the movies from the summer and the pop culture that surrounded them. Joining me, as always, from Puck News in the Outside Scoop, which this week is the Magic Mike and Ike's XXL. 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream, whipped cream, topped with Mike and Ike's, and a banana. Scott Mendelson.
You had me to the banana, but good to be here.
How many episodes have I added the banana, folks? And I'm talking just a big old banana, not sliced.
Too many. Because you know I don't like bananas.
There we go. It's for your customers, not yourself, Scott. Don't shit where you eat. Don't
Scott's
eat the
bananas
merchandise.
For the customers. Got it.
Yes. And that voice from We Live Entertainment, out now with Aaron and Abe, and 2 Black Guys Talk Godzilla. He's more of a Terminator Dreamcast guy, Aaron Neuwirth.
Hi, I just wanted to tell everyone this episode is brought to you by The Last Blockbuster, which is located in Bend, Oregon. Shout out to my co-host, Abe Mua, who got me this shirt.
Oh, badass. When I was at Indiana Comics Convention, they had a, I think they're doing, there's some documentary that they had a Blockbuster booth where you, started at the front and then you went behind the curtains and they had, a store set up and you take pictures and buy, used movies and stuff. It was
Remember when we heard about Colin Hanks being like, I'm going to make a Tower Records documentary, and then he did, and we saw it, and we're like, that was pretty good. And then we moved on with our lives.
Yep. Those things happen. There are a ton. I got in a rabbit hole of watching VHS documentaries for a bit. Maybe it was during COVID or something, but there was a period where 12 came out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother time. But we are well past the VHS era here, talking about the films released in theaters on July 3rd through 5th, 2015. We're crossing over the halfway point here today. Reminder, what year do you want us to do the summer of next summer? Let us know. From the summers from 1980 to 2009. Let us know which one you want the most. I'm partial to 89, as I will mention multiple times again. But it's my show. I might just pick that. Who knows? Would be fun.
2009, though, you could talk about why Scott prefers Revenge of the Fallen to District 9.
Oh, that would be
I just made that up, but I thought that'd be really funny to hear.
No.
It just got, it just got a bunch of
Rise of Cobra, or maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, that little bit was news to me, and here's the news for you.
Crushing this week.
All right.
It's been a long day without news, my friend. I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Finally tonight, in her memoir, Misty Copeland calls herself an unlikely ballerina. As we told you, she was named today the American Ballet Theater's first African-American principal ballerina.
All right. So on June 29th, Beijing Times reports 30% of the Great Wall of China has disappeared due to natural forces and the stealing of bricks.
Also, Matt Damon.
Awesome. Yeah. Also, Matt Damon.
It's The Munsters. Didn't anyone see the movie?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Pedro was there.
Yeah. On June 30th, a man self-immolates aboard a Nozomi Shinkansen train and kills one other passenger in Japan.
Showed them.
Did he kill them, or was him lighting himself on fire that killed him?
I mean, I'm very curious about this now. Too much, actually.
That's a legal question to be on a law school test.
Yeah.
Were they protesting something?
I don't know, but if you want to know more about it, check out this week's episode of the Box Office Podcast with Scott Mendelson. Question will be answered on that show.
It's the response to F1.
Yes. On June 30th, Hercules transporter plane crashes minutes after takeoff in Medan, Indonesia, killing 116 people.
But initially, the takeoff, they were like, Hercules, Hercules,
Yeah.
Hercules.
Ooh. Okay. June 30th, Misty Copeland becomes the first African American principal dancer of the American Ballet Theater. About damn time.
Boom.
July 1st, Greek credit crisis. Greece becomes the first developed country to default on debt to the International Monetary Fund, $1.7 billion.
At least Jason Bourne's going to save them next summer, right?
And they just erased it as a country because they were in debt. They're like, yep, you can't be a country no more, right?
That's how it works.
That works. July 1st, U.S. and Cuba announce agreement to reopen embassies and establish full diplomatic ties.
And now we're rich with Cuban products.
Yeah. Ice cream catered by the Outside Scoop.
How are the tariffs going on that front?
Yeah. Gotta have those tariffs.
Man, 3 months from now, will that
Cigars
still
are
be a
nice.
thing? Will this still be an issue?
Yeah. Oh, I remember those tariff days.
Remember the tariffs from 3 months ago?
Oh.
It's worse. Somehow.
Yeah.
I'm recording this from a Salvadorian prison.
July 2nd, 62 people are killed after the Kim Nirvana ferry capsizes off the coast of the Philippines.
Oh, I remember this. I remember that
Yeah.
story. Okay, jeez. God.
July 2nd, BP agrees to compensate U.S. government and Gulf states $18.7 billion for the 2010 Gulf of Mexico oil spill. British Petroleum.
Yay.
July 3rd, Adelaide Crows Australian rules football coach Phil Walsh is murdered by his son Cy at Somerton Park home. Yeah.
Let's get it on.
Violent week. On the 4th of July, Matt Megatoad Stoney, in an upset, defeats 8-time hot dog eating champion Joey Jaws Chestnut at Nathan's famous Coney Island with how many hot dogs? Do you guys know?
Oh, so it was a hot dog eating contest. It wasn't like a fight or something.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
How many hot dogs? How many hot dogs?
Did he have to eat to win?
Yeah.
Not like stuff in his mouth at one time or something.
No,
that's
you
like
gotta swallow.
Yeah.
You gotta swallow. Yeah.
You got it just like Scott's banana. Got it. I'm gonna. How high do you go on this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a good 65.
Scott?
67.
Dick.
62.
Hey, look at that.
Look at that. There we go. And then on that same day at the Super Rugby final, Westpac Stadium, Wellington, Otago Highlanders beat Wellington Hurricanes 21-14 for their first title. Congratulations.
There can only be one.
One?
Yeah. Deaths this week. Glenn Ford.
You just heard all the deaths.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Additional deaths this week.
Not Glenn Ford.
Yeah. No. American free death row inmate who wrongly spent 30 years in prison, Glenn Ford.
Not Glenn
That's
Ford.
much worse.
That's like I don't want either of them to be dead.
That's not the funny one.
Who died at 65. So if he spent 30 years in prison, jeez, I don't think he spent
that
much time out.
sucks. Yeah.
Horrible. French jazz musician Eddie Louise, Little Orphan Annie cartoonist Leonard Starr, Lawrence Herkheimer, the godfather of cheerleading, who founded National Cheerleading Association and patented the pom-pom.
Beard fingers for him.
Yeah. Sir Nicholas Winton, the humanitarian known as the British Schindler, who saved 669 children from Nazis. And, yeah. And then actress Diana Douglas and Nobel Prize winning physicist Yoshiro Nambu.
Okay.
And weddings. We have a load of weddings here this week. It's 4th of
Independence
July.
Day weddings, yeah.
We gotta get the
I'm sure they're all super white.
Fireworks are free. Liverpool goalkeeper Brad Jones weds model Danny Lawrence.
Mazel tov.
And get it, Ashton Kutcher weds his second wife, Mila Kunis. So look at that.
Together.
Yeah, we know them.
Okay.
Vanessa Williams weds third husband, American businessman Jim Scripp. And yeah. And then music legend Billy Joel weds fourth wife, American equestrian Alexis Roderick. And
start the fire.
This was he married her at New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's Long Island home. There we go.
That's very Billy Joel of him.
Yes. Yes. All right. So we move on to our first movie, playing at 2 theaters this week, Cartel Land.
There's an imaginary line out there between right and wrong, good and evil. I believe what I am doing is good, and what I'm standing up against is evil.
Somos los cocineros de metanfetamina. Claro que hacemos daño, lo sabemos.
It's the cartels terrorizing their own country, and now they're starting to do it over here.
¿Qué harías tú? ¿Esperar que vinieran por ti o defenderte? Y ármense, únanse. El gobierno no proporciona las garantías de seguridad que el pueblo necesita.
Si a ustedes le pasara lo que nos pasó a nosotros, estuvieran con nosotros.
They're taking back what is theirs from the cartel. That's the way it should be done up here, too. Anybody touches me, drop them. You sabe?
Hay una ley que se llama ojo por ojo y diente por diente.
Fíjense para atrás.
No nos vamos a convertir en los criminales que andamos combatiendo.
¿Con quién trabajas? With the lucky ones, for now.
Directed by Matthew Heineman. This is filmmaker Matthew Heineman examines the state of the ongoing drug problem along the U.S.-Mexican border. This is a documentary. This was on the short list, I believe, for Academy Awards. Was it not? I think, or was it nominated too?
It was nominated.
Not nominated. It was nominated. Okay, that's right. So, yeah, Aaron, tell us about those filthy cartels and how they're destroying America.
I hadn't seen this. Doug is another one where it's like I never got to get to, like, it's the kind where you get to the Academy Awards and I hope to watch everything I can, but the second the awards end, obviously none of us care anymore about any of the movies that were nominated.
And we forget about some of them we watch.
It didn't win, therefore why should I give a damn? That's a horrible way to think of things, and I do have to make an effort to actually see specifically the docs and the short docs, because there's always important topics that I find to be generally pretty fascinating. This one, no, I just didn't get to until now, which I'm happy to, because I think the doc is pretty solid. It presents two perspectives, or two and a half perspectives, but if anything, I would say the American side of things, I think, hampers the film a bit as far as the perspective you're getting and the person who's like mainly representative of it. There's, I think, knowledge to be gained by hearing that side, but in terms of how the story presents it, I feel like if I had less of that and more of hearing just what's going on with like the Mexican side of things and whatnot, I feel like the doc would be even stronger than it is. That said, we're in that, I mean, it's 2015. Like, we're not like there's not much new novelty in the realm of documentaries at this point. Like,
Right.
it's just how do you present this information to make it interesting?
Yeah.
That's not entirely fair. There's documentaries that I still find to be pretty ambitious and inventive in how they do things, but still, 2015, I'm pretty used to seeing docs of this variety. So, like, seeing one that's like this, it's like, okay, yeah, it's doing a thing that I'm familiar with, but just attacking a certain topic. And as it stands, for me, one that's like political, especially in 2015, political to a point, but not one that like studies this or could speak that language very efficiently. I think it presents the information very well, and does a good job of laying out like what the troubles are and what have you, and makes you sympathetic for certain things that are going on, while also like an understanding of what it's trying to get at. Um, yeah, like it's a good like I was happy I finally saw the doc. I could see like if it was made now, it'd be way different. But if it was made now, I could see how it could be, or at least if I forgot the director's name, if it was stronger, to make it stronger, I could see what you would kind of leave aside. Again, I think is more the American side of things as far as like how to make it even stronger in its impact. But as it stands, I think it's solid. I was happy to have seen it.
Where's Vice at with this time? Like the Vice document? Like, was it?
They're around.
They're around.
Vice has been around since they're around since
Because
like
this feels like
late 2000s, I think. Yeah.
yeah, it feels kind of like a project like they would do. Scott.
This was also my first viewing of this. I liked it quite a bit. Obviously, I tried not to hold the future against it, if I may. As far as the American versus Mexican point of view, obviously the point of view of the people that were living there and dealing with this face to face is more important and perhaps more engaging. But I do think offering that gives the American side a certain moral complexity that I think makes this documentary more interesting.
Sure.
Because and yes, we don't know to what extent we should take these people at their word that they are really in it just to make their borders safer without all the icky subtext behind that, which the film comes right out and said is like, the character says something effective, the word vigilante didn't used to mean a guy in a white hood running around. I don't know how true that is. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Bernie Goetz.
I'd argue it's because he seems so, I don't want to say broad, but it seems like so like if there was a different American person we were following, maybe that would be better. I think that's where I'm at. I don't disagree with you. I do think having the discrepancy between both sides like makes a level of sense to do. It's just this particular person just kept rubbing me the wrong way.
Well, it's because that particular,
I agree, and
that person's like sitting there. We're in this like weird home with them that like feels so like such a sheltered life and stuff, and then like you have his wife on the computer looking up garbage. Like it's like, yeah. I get it.
I had, whether intentional or not, I admired the film's willingness to make us uncomfortable with that particular point of view, especially in hindsight, because again, it's would I feel the same way if this film had come out today, knowing how this film would be appropriated in certain ways, and for all we know how this was appropriated 10 years ago, I don't know. I do know that Matthew Hoberman went on to do a shit ton of really interesting documentaries about a lot of interesting subjects, the last of which was funded by Obama's Netflix company. So I would think that sort of answers where his politics lie. Maybe not. So that being said, there isn't all that much that we don't already know in terms of the drug war is fucking awful. And I don't think the film shies away from implicating our own culture in that. Although, again, we have Sicario at the end of the year, which I think does that as well. We won't talk about Day of the Soldado. That one's basically clear and present danger, but what if we were the good guys? But just on its face, I think it's a very interesting attempt to it takes the characters that would, from our point of view at least, would be very unsympathetic, would be very untrustworthy, who would be doing something that we would look at correctly with suspicion, but then also presents by showing what's going on over in Mexico. It's like, well, if they can help a little bit there, what's the harm? Ha ha ha. I aware that's sort of a naive point of view, but that's the point of the point. And I do like the extent that this film made me uncomfortable in that sense. Is that, well, I do think, it probably would have been a stronger, more emotionally compelling film if it had been more these, people living in Mexico rising up against the forces that, terrorize their own hometown. It would have been a simpler film. And I do think the complexity makes it slightly more interesting, even though if it makes the whole thing, especially in hindsight, a little bit harder to take at face value, if that makes any sense. But no, I genuinely enjoyed this picture. It makes me want to look up his other pictures, because I've been terrible about documentaries in the last, 10 years, let's be honest, since I had my third kid. This is a time issue. So, but no, I given the fact that I entered this with a certain amount of suspicion and, arms crossed mentality, if you will, I was intrigued by how much I came out of it thinking, okay, this is good. I wish I could look at it more as saying, okay, this was the start of something XYZ, other than, everything got worse and it's probably our fault. But 10 years previous, I can't necessarily hold that against this film. So no, I think it's a solid two-sided portrait of what's still a very clear and present danger. And I appreciate the effect that it didn't take perhaps the easiest route in terms of telling that story.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is intriguing. This documentary just felt like there's an element of unease, because you're like, is this guy safe making this?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you hear the stories about the cartel, and then you're seeing stuff with the car. I'm like, is he gonna get you can get bullets whizzing by? The cartel could get his address. Like,
I was intrigued by that aspect for sure. The
I'm
filmmaking process.
That's dangerous to do. I really like the Mexico stuff is great. Is a weird way to say something, but like, you hear about these things, and then you're like seeing the actual impact of it. You're seeing the actual thing, and you've got vigilantism, and some townspeople that reject it at that one point, which is fascinating, because they're like, well, we'd rather just deal with our corrupt politicians and lawmen than have mess. Like, whoever like whoever's gonna bring peace non-violently is who we want. But and then you get the story of the guy who we followed the whole thing and gets put behind bars by the end of it. But yeah, the America, I get they're trying to show the other side of it, but I don't like. It doesn't. It's I don't know. His story's not. I don't know what they're trying to show with it, but like, you don't see any good come from it. You don't. It just feels like it's like, this isn't your business, dude. Get out of it. Like, it's like, yeah, what are you doing? But yeah, I'm really, every time it was back to Mexico, I was quite invested in this.
I guess I wonder, like, who's watching this. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I like, but just to jump on the American point again, I wonder who's watching this doc that would presumably be already of a certain kind of understanding of things and sees the American side as like, is there any revelation there by having that presented to them? I guess that's my question.
I guess, I mean, the revelation would be like, not much that you think is happening over here, because I don't really, they act like, when you hear, like, granted, I'm going off today's news, but they're saying like, this sounds like just Texas and Arizona are just nothing but cartel activity, and that's just probably not true. Not that there isn't any activity and stuff, but they like
in the way where like basically like people are self-appointing themselves as judge, jury, and executioner to help stop this massive invasion that's always happening when Republicans needed to.
Yeah, and
it is unfortunate to the extent that these events, however minimal they are used for this is a week after Donald Trump comes down the staircase, and we're still dealing with the aftermath of that. And these are the kind of theoretical events, to the extent that they impact America, that have horrific political consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I try not to hold that against the film, because it's clear that they was wanted us to be uncomfortable and wanted us to look at that particular part of it with a skewed glance, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, just it's sad to see what it is and what happens, and I worry for the I worry for the filmmaker. I'm just like, Jesus, dude, you're putting your life on the line here.
I was curious to wonder why you had, since I live the furthest south, why you decided to have me record this episode on our open borders. That was a choice.
Yep. Yeah. Put target on your back there. That was the aim of it. But yeah, interesting. I'm glad I saw this documentary. I wasn't really on my radar aside from just knowing it was piece of the Oscars then, but yeah, nifty to see what's all happening. I guess the cartel thing was in topic because I think Breaking Bad's running around this time. So, I mean, that's of the pop culture.
We're in Better Call
interest.
Saul territory, I think.
Are we in Better Call Saul?
We're in Better Call Saul territory, but yeah, I mean the lingering threats of drugs and white people. Yes, sure.
Right. Yes. And speaking of those topics they love, let's go to Faith of Our Fathers.
Open
this up.
Bow, bow, bow.
Bow.
What, I'm welcome to read my Bible? That make you feel better? I don't know.
You wouldn't be preparing my men for death now, would you, soldier?
No, Sarge. Absolutely not. You know, I have no idea how my dad died.
Who's Eddie Adams?
No idea.
Maybe he can fill in some blanks.
I'm Wayne, Eddie Adams' son.
So why are you guys going to D.C.?
See our father's name on the Vietnam Wall.
Evening, sir. Could I interest you in a couple of bags of beef jerky?
That's okay.
Things that he's seen me do, I don't think you could forgive me.
Jesus loves you selflessly.
I always struggle with my belief in God.
There's a verse that Stephen keeps telling me about. Your dad got my dad to read the Bible.
Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends.
You and me here is temporary. But paradise with him is eternity.
Playing in 344 theaters. Directed by Carrie Scott, written by Kevin Downes, Carrie Scott, Harold Uhl, and David A.R. White. Starring Kevin Downes, David A.R. White, Stephen Baldwin, Rebecca St. James, and Candace Cameron Bure. Two men embark on a trip to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, guided by the letters their father wrote while serving in the war. Scott, I made an Angel Studios joke a while back about a movie, but
it's
this
no
is
Max.
Truly, it's no Max.
It's no Max.
That's yeah.
I mean, this is a Pure Flix film, literally. It is Pure Flix. This is when they're actually putting out films on the regular. This is a year after God's Not Dead. And in a vacuum, regardless of the politics of the people who made it, the politics of the people that will most likely consume it, and the, how do I put this gently, potentially wrong-headed takeaways that someone might take from this, it is in a vacuum just a harmless mediocrity, but it's still mediocre. It's not particularly well acted. It's not particularly well staged. It's very cut and dry. Stephen Baldwin is not one of the better Baldwins in terms of acting. So even he's
no Dan.
Prestigious extended Dan was on Homicide for 5 years.
What's your definition of mediocre?
3 years.
Because mediocre to me is average, and you've not described anything that sounds average so far.
Well, I mean, this isn't like a 0-star monstrosity, but it's also not.
It's close.
Good in any particular way. It just sort of whatever. And it says, if I'm making it sound better than it is, then whoops. But it's also not particularly offensive. It's not particularly incompetent. It's not particularly grotesque. It's just a mediocrity. And beyond, the only thing interesting about it is the extent that it uses, frankly, Christian dogma as sort of a narrative backbone, which we can debate how surprising that is in 2010's Pure Flick cinema. because that's sort of a subgenre at this point. This is more of an I like to call it an aspirational Veggie Tale style Christian picture, as opposed to a God's Not Dead kind of thing, where it's, and what little credit it deserves is, I guess, for that. But of course, there are much better films of that nature, as we discussed a lot last week. I mean, it's a bad movie that has very little to offer if you're not already in the flock. But beyond that, which almost goes without saying, I can't find anything particularly poignant to say about it one way or another. It's bad. I mean, I see no reason for anyone to watch this that isn't already going to watch this. And my only disappointment is that it's not, surprise, it's one of the good ones. Like, an Ordinary Angels or Heaven is for Real, or even comparatively speaking, Max, which again, not great, but that was better than I was expecting. But this is basically the kind of whatever that I felt you guys were talking about in terms of Max last week. That to me is this. And if it seems like I'm weirdly soft on it, just because it's bad, but it doesn't seem worth the fire and brimstone that I would otherwise subject it to, if that makes sense. It's lousy. End of story.
Hey, Aaron, what surprised you about this one?
I mean, I don't disagree. Now that Scott's detailed more of what he's after, I don't disagree with him. And I'd like to think we play pretty fair on this podcast in terms of the choices, Brandon, that you make as far as scheduling the films we're going to see. Because yes, there's going to be films that are frankly out of our area when it comes to the kind of entertainment you're getting out of them, regardless of general quality. But that is what we're trying to do here, is trying to gauge the quality of these films, not necessarily the agenda they're presenting. Of course, those can overlap with each other. There's no problem with that because it's all subjective anyway. So with all of that, I would say I agree largely with Scott's saying, although I do think the film is largely incompetent. That's my main issue with it. It regardless of having its heart in the right place or what have you, or how it presents certain agendas in a manner that will certainly be fitting for the audience it's intended to please. Just from a filmmaking standpoint, no, I think it is garbage in that sense. Like, it's hard to watch the movie because of the bad acting on display from main characters, not just Baldwin, but the main two people while I'm watching for 90 minutes. I don't think they're particularly good actors. Especially
you didn't like Dime Store Ryan Gosling?
No. Like, on top of that, just basic editing choices, camera choices. I get that these are low budget movies, but even like watching a road trip movie where it's painfully bad rear projection or whatever they're doing just to convey the fact that they're moving in a car. I mean, it's on the level of your favorite.
Yeah,
thing,
that
Scott.
rear projection was bad.
It's on the level of your favorite thing, Scott, the Saw car chase of Danny Glover. At least that movie was trying to do something ambitious by shaking the camera.
Look out, French Connection.
This is just like it's like an eye sort of. By the way, this is a real shit sandwich this week because we got like two really good things, and in the middle is two just god awful things. So, if anything, the only reason that like I can agree with Scott on like what we're doing here, as far as why I don't need to like come down on this film harder, is because yes, the heart is in the right place, and because the other film that we'll get to is that much worse than this one. So it's like I don't have a passion to like go hard on this movie because sure, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's in one ear and out the other. But if you want me to evaluate it, there's nothing good I have to say about it. It doesn't do anything particularly well beyond, sending a message that you probably already had in your heart anyway, if you were walking into this movie saying you really wanted to see it. Not helping is the framing device of having everyone's favorite Full House daughter being like a nag, and like doing all the things she's doing. I mean, this whole we haven't even really talked about like what the story is of this thing, but it's nonsense. It's a lot of nonsense to watch. Like, I guess I could, compared to Max, which has the gun plot that I'm never happy with. I don't know. Like, it's not like there's much. Matching these up against each other doesn't mean much to me because, like, whatever. Like, dog is nice. I don't know. Like, this is Like the dog acts better than everybody in this movie. Let's put that out there right now. So I don't know what to tell you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's lousy, but like it's also, is it harmless? Sure. Compared to other pure flicks films that have a real agenda that they want to really push forward, yes, this is better than those, I suppose. But yes, there are also other faith-based movies that are demonstrably better just by sake of having, competent filmmaking or better actors that, at least want to do the work to not just convey a message, but stand behind it with a performance they actually cared about. And I don't even, and that's the other problem. I think they do care about these performances in this movie.
Well, they
And they're
wrote and
not up,
directed it, so
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So they're not up to task to bringing that out. So it's like, it's not a mess because it's, I guess, linear enough to like follow, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, oof. The dialogue is bad, and the acting to perform the dialogue, said dialogue, is worse. And I had a hard time staying with this one because I was just like checked out, because it's just like you know what, I can see where you're saying mediocre, Scott. Not as a, like, because I don't think the people are like piss fucking poor with their acting, but they're just like, nah.
They're not as good as
Like,
the dog and Max.
and now
Well, it's
Max at least had
it's-
Thomas Hayden Church and Lauren Graham spouting out nonsense.
yeah.
This
And
is
that's
just, yeah, and it's, yeah, the direction's just slightly below pedestrian, and the story, like, yeah, where this leads to is just some bullshit too. Yeah, and it's like, it's made by like people who, obviously they've seen some movies, but they don't understand how to make movies, because there's like tropes and stuff I've seen from like storyline parts ripped from other things, but they're not.
Which is
They're
often the
doing it
case
because,
with typically pure flicks films. It seems like there's
yeah,
people that like have the enthusiasm to do something, but don't have the know-how of what to execute on.
yeah. I just, I didn't care for it.
no, I mean it's
And
not good. It just
I
I
don't want to
didn't
keep
feel like
punching down the Christ movie here, but like, these movies really don't have the best talent to pull them off majority of the time. And it's just, there's just a disconnect. There's um behind the camera, in front of the camera, like Candace Cameron, probably one of the best performers in this movie, and she is at a C or a C level, and not like the water. I'm talking like the grade.
Oh,
I think we all knew.
Okay, but yeah, and I mean her part, thankless, dumb, not a good woman part, but knowing what her personal politics are, she probably thinks is a great part.
I like that in this movie she messes up a lasagna, and her next step is to be like, "It's okay, I'm gonna make a turkey tonight." And I'm like, "Tonight?" And it's the afternoon already. You've already fucked up that plan right away. Like, what are we
Right.
doing here?
What are we doing?
You gotta
That
start.
takes a
that
while.
turkey need to be started hours ago if you're going to make a turkey tonight.
Let's like reheating it. But yeah, I don't really have much to add on top of this, and it's just, I mean, like Stephen Baldwin comes in like, "This is my chance. I got this. I'm gonna shine." He's
like that
probably
I saw-
coming off a Celebrity Apprentice appearance or something. I don't.
Or Sober
That
House.
does match up, give or take.
I did. He's coming off fighting with his brother about who's the better politician. I liked that Stephen Baldwin's name was in the credits, and I'm like, oh, okay, when is he going to pop up? And then as the movie goes on, I'm like, oh, he's not here yet. I know what we're doing with Stephen Baldwin. He's going to be the late in the game surprise like character that's like, yeah, I have wisdom to offer because I'm Stephen Barney Rubble Baldwin, and I have some things to share.
Yeah, it's underwhelming. I was like, oh, so the Bible, cool twist that happens in probably 90% of these movies, and this wasn't even good. Like, I have a fond memory of a friend of mine and I was like, we were just like hanging out on a random Saturday or something, Saturday night, and we're flipping through and we landed on, somehow randomly Fireproof, the Kirk Cameron movie, was on, and boy, oh boy, we had a good time watching that. We were laughing our asses off. It was just so unintentionally funny, enjoyable, and this had none of that.
I hold on to the fact that I think Kirk Cameron would be great in spoof movies if he gave them a chance. I think he would be a perfect spoof movie actor.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. But yeah, it was no Fireproof. This is my high bar for so bad they're good Christian movies, I guess, but didn't work out. But
this filth, that's my impression of Fireproof.
Faith of Our Fathers, not to be confused with Flags of Our Fathers. I wonder if they made the title in.
Oh, for sure they did.
That. Yeah.
Because every time I reread what we're watching this week, I'm like, wait, what are we? What?
Wait, that didn't come out. That didn't come out then. So, Letters to Iwo Jesus is the next one.
Jesus Christ! Literally.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Let him resurrect. That's Ken Watanabe in that movie.
And with that, we'll move on to the TV ratings for this week.
Carly Lloyd has just given her the captain's armband. Seconds left from Vancouver. That's it. Game over. The drought is over. The U.S. wins the 2015 Women's World Cup.
Who's got talent?
Yeah. Well, the talent was in the Women's World Cup soccer team, who on Fox won the World Cup versus Japan 5-2. So everybody, 22.32 million people watched it.
Wow.
In America. Soccer.
Wow.
So soccer up and coming.
The ads must have been great.
Yeah. Less than half that watched number 2, America's Got Talent on NBC. Number 3, Zoo on CBS.
What?
I vaguely remember Zoo.
Yeah, it was a TV show.
Zoo. Okay, yeah.
Zoo, yeah. Here's looking at Zoo, kid. Yeah. So,
we'll just stick
starring
with that
Cabin
part.
in the Woods, Kristen Connolly.
Yep.
Yeah.
James Walk, Billy Burke. Yeah. I never watched it, and I didn't really remember it when I was going back. I was like, the fuck is
We
Zoo?
watched a few episodes. It wasn't engaging enough to keep up with it.
When did the Dome come on?
Actually, Under the Dome is airing its third season
Son
during
of a
this time.
bitch.
It's airing during this time. It's not in the top 10. It was shy of the top 10, but it is airing during this time. I made a note this week of that, actually.
I don't watch CBS at all, so I just they're all like basically the same show to me.
I think I watched like the first 2 episodes of Under the Dome. I was like, you know what? Nope, I'm out. Because it was a Stephen King project, right?
I
or
believe,
tangentially
right?
related to Stephen King.
And that's how I know Breaking Bad was over, because Hank's on that show.
Dean Norris, yeah, Dean Norris was there. Yeah, nice guy, Dean Norris. Met him.
He owns
last
a barbecue
year.
place that's in Temecula that's near me.
Oh, sure. He's from South Bend, Indiana here, so kind of crazy. Number 4, the Women's World Cup post game on Fox. Yep. And number 5.
Who's hosting that? Barkley and Shaq?
Yeah, Barkley and Shaq doing soccer. Women's soccer.
It's a callback.
I know Barkley.
You really know how to kick it.
Number 5, an NCIS repeat on CBS. Number 6, the Women's World Cup Soccer semifinal on Fox, where they beat Germany 2-0. Number 7, Celebrity Family Feud on ABC. This week, Dr. Phil versus Gary and Penny Marshall, and Kevin McHale versus Fred Willard.
The volume on that show must have been intense.
Who'd be the perfect match for Kevin McHale? I don't know, Dr. J, Isaiah Thomas. How about Fred Willard?
Yes.
Whoa, what happened?
Sounds good. Number 8, The Bachelorette, Monday on ABC. Number 9, A Big Bang Theory repeat on CBS. And number 10, 60 Minutes on CBS. So I noted after the Women's World Cup Championship soccer, Fox had a half hour left and ran an episode of Last Man on Earth.
Oh, good show.
Yeah, good show.
Marvel.
Good show. In the World Cup final, Carly Lloyd scored a hat trick. 3 goals to beat Japan.
Turkey.
True Detective Season 2 is airing on HBO at this time.
A season that's famously not very good, no matter what people say.
But for whatever reason, 8 weeks that show was airing, on Sunday night, when I would put my newborn son to bed, when we were watching that show, he would fall asleep in like 10 minutes. So that was my favorite show of summer 2015.
Yeah,
I like True Detective Season 2, yeah.
It's got good elements.
I liked it.
Although the one episode that he didn't fall asleep quickly was the one with the big action scene at the end. So he must have known.
He knew. On Saturday night on ABC, which was the 4th of July, ABC aired a repeat of the 2020 Bruce Jenner, The Interview.
Can we say that?
Yeah. And
that's what it's titled, I assume.
Yeah, Bruce Jenner, The Interview. So I think that's when Bruce Jenner was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna become."
It was that summer when
summer, yeah.
When she transitioned, yes,
yeah,
and became nothing but a good human being that did nothing but good things.
Right? Yeah, I would like to destroy myself. Thank you. So Hannibal update.
That's in reference to their actions and not their transition. Just to be clear.
Yes. The
Think of it as funny people, where the joke is Adam Sandler survives a near-death experience and becomes a worse person.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hannibal update for this week. Airing Thursday
Still canceled.
Night. 0.8 rating. A 2 share and 1.2 million viewers.
Do you see? Do you see? That's why they canceled the show.
They're going to make up for it in DVD sales.
This is by design.
All right, guys, I felt bad. I feel bad. It's been a bunch of weeks and there haven't been movies on the networks.
Yeah.
So I got one on Turner Classic Movies.
Oh boy.
4th of July primetime. What did they show?
Pride of the Yankees.
What'd you say?
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yes, they showed Yankee Doodle Dandy from 1942. Yes.
I was going to go with Sergeant York, but you win.
All right.
Man, that could have been 10 minutes or 10 seconds, and we got the latter.
That's the quickest one of all time, I think. There was no questioning. There was no hints. Nothing.
He said TCM, that just narrowed it down.
You gave us a genuine answer as we head into Magic Mike XXL. Genuine, the singer of Pony, which is the Channing Tatum. There you go, Scott. I had to explain the segue. Jesus, that was a good one.
Black people.
Yeah, old. That was like in our teen years that came out. That was like your most plugged into music time.
I was listening to Danny Elfman scores.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. He used the thong song for seduction, not Genuine.
Oh, gotcha.
Sarah McLachlan.
That's
Same
true.
difference.
Scott always has a funny story where he's like, I fear, taking a woman back to my apartment, putting music on, they might think I'm a serial killer because I'm putting on like Sarah McLachlan or something like that.
Well, Lazarus is Good by Horses is a good song. I don't know what the problem is.
The joke I always used to make was that trying to seduce a woman by getting them to put on their Sarah McLachlan, good idea. Trying to seduce a woman by putting on your own Sarah McLachlan, bad idea.
It'd be great if Wendy walked in just now just to agree with
I've made that joke many times, and she knows.
I know. It'd just be a good visual reminder.
Oh, yes.
Tomorrow, start the pilgrimage to Myrtle Beach for the convention. Oh, it's on!
Are you ready to be worshipped? Are you ready to be exalted?
We're gonna see if he's still got some magic in that
Do you know what people value more than freedom?
Please say strippers.
Magic Mike XXL, only in cinemas.
All right. This was directed by Gregory Jacobs, who is the second unit producer for Soderbergh movies and stuff. Written by Reed Carolyn and goes on to write and direct Dog with Channing Tatum. Stars Channing Tatum, Joe Manganiello, Kevin Nash, Gabrielle Iglesias, Matt Balmer, Adam Rodriguez, Amber Heard, Jada Pinkett Smith, Michael Strahan, Donald Glover, Andy McDowell, and big Lizzie Summer, Elizabeth Banks.
She's back.
And director Steven Soderbergh returns to shoot this film as the cinematographer. First time on a film he did not direct. 3 years after Mike bowed out of the stripper life at the top of his game, he and the remaining Kings of Tampa hit the road to Myrtle Beach to put on one last blowout performance. Aaron, let's take it off.
It's funny. Rant, the site that I was writing for at the time, does not exist anymore. So like everything that I wrote that summer is gone in the ether, unless I have it saved somewhere, which I might, because I saved most of my stuff. But I feel like I would be upset with the review that I wrote for Magic Mike XXL at that time, because I think the film caught me, and this is a rare thing where the film it's just frankly better than I gave it credit for, as opposed to I'm just like worn down on it and I'm like, fine, 3 stars, whatever. This is a film that I think is legit very good, that I was just in like the wrong place to like understand what it was doing, because at the time I gave it like a 5 out of 10 because I thought it caught me off guard with how low stakes and non-plot centric it was. I've seen it a few times since, and that's the charm of the movie, and many people caught on to that when it came out. Others were less pleased. I don't think it's necessarily a divisive move, but it's certainly one that is so less straightforward than the first Magic Mike, which, that's a movie that has, once again, a gun plot to make things happen the way they need to do in the later acts. And I'm like, why? Let's just hang out with these guys. And then this movie comes along, which is literally, let's just hang out with these guys. And for some reason, I'm harder on it, which is weird to me. So now I'm happy that yeah, well, but I'm owning my own mistakes. So that's called being a responsible adult, and not, I don't know, clinging on to something for the sake of making everyone around them miserable for the sake of proving a point, like that current administration. The thing here is this movie is very, very good at what it's trying to do, which is allow men of a certain age to come together and put on a show and realize their station and accept it. And I think that's so positive as far as like what it's trying to do. This is a movie that has no adversary whatsoever. There's no antagonist. There's no real plot beyond we need to drive from here to here. Like that's the entire plot of the movie. And in the meantime, we'll have characters interact with people. We'll, have some minor squabbles. We'll rebuild our confidence because we have to kind of regroup after our money making with Matthew McConaughey's gone away, and now we're just kind of doing this thing. Are there other like social touchstones that it's getting at in the same way that the first one was? Yes, but not as much. I think Soderbergh obviously he always is spinning like 6 different plates with his movies. So like in the addition of having the main drive of that story involving Alex, I am number 4 Pettifer, and Channing Tatum do their thing, he's also commenting on like similar things that Soderbergh will comment on in like what's the prostitute one that made a series,
The Girlfriend Experience,
the Girlfriend Experience, and things like that. Like he's touching on similar things in that kind of realm while also having this kind of main plot drive. This movie, I would think, is less concerned with that. There's so many details about this movie. Like in addition to let's just kind of hang out vibe and the male acceptance thing, it's so female friendly as far as not necessarily defining the female characters in this like elaborate ways or whatnot, but making it a film that should ideally be very comfortable for that female audience to observe, because it's not about the bodiness is there, but it's so much more intimate in a way that you really never see from certainly a Warner Brothers R-rated movie. It's not about, in the same way that like the first 50 Shades, which is directed by a woman, what's her name? Aaron Taylor Johnson's like Sam Taylor Johnson.
Sam Taylor Johnson.
How that movie is so much more sensual in its approach to the female experience of all of this, where the sequels are like hardcore, a male director, let's really go at it kind of thing. This movie is much more in line in that sort of spirit, without, but it's obviously, it's not about sex. It's about this kind of erotic experience with these, male entertainers. Like just it's there's this like strange maturity that I have that it has that I really admire about this movie, where it could have just been the male like what we see Chocolate City that we watched like weeks
Yeah.
ago. Like that's a movie that I mean, it does have its like plotting. This is a much better version of what that's doing. Um, and it's successful by being this kind of, we're throwing this together, but we have a sort of vibe that we want to clue into that I think Tatum and his producing partner, they really seem to understand in a way that is impressive, honestly, because you could have just made a throwaway sequel that's like, yeah, the boys are at it again and one drama. Instead, it's like this whole experimental thing that Warner Brothers weirdly gave them enough money for, I guess a blank check based on the success of the first film, and it works. Like compared to whatever I wrote that I don't have access to back in 2015, I'm happy that I could look at this film now and just be like, nothing is like this, not to this extent.
Yeah.
And it entirely succeeds because of like this weird chemistry that brought all these things together.
Yeah. Scott?
Yeah, I enjoyed this when I first saw it. Not in theaters, just because I didn't get around to it. And I remember one of my local Pacific Northridge theaters had a Monday morning bring your baby to the movies thing, which I took advantage of a lot when Ethan was born. But by the time Owen was born, it was my job, so I didn't really need to do that. And I remember for the post-July 4th weekend, Monday, instead of, technically it was mommy and me, because let's be honest, it was more women going to the movies taking their baby along. But I was always very amused that the movie they offered was Terminator Genisys and not this, which demographically speaking,
that's America in a nutshell, though. Scott.
Yeah.
The action movie is far more.
Obviously, they hate mothers and babies. But this film, I think it was coming at a very specific time, and we were starting to see films that were either from women or in some cases from men that were trying to be a less conventionally, not even misogynistic, just sort of chauvinistic in a sort of a non, malevolent fashion. And this is a film that is very much about a bunch of men who, by virtue of their job and just because it's what they enjoy, they like to make women feel good, both about themselves and just about, about the work that they do. And in a skewed way, this film is, one scene after another of older actresses who have been sort of put out to pasture because of the Hollywood system, who get their chance to shine. It's like, yeah, Andie MacDowell is still hot, guys. Come on. And because it's such a laissez-faire road trip movie with no real conflict and just it's 150 minutes of nice things happening to nice people that makes us feel nice. And it's a lot of fun. I think it works as a sequel to the first one, which, we talk about, movies that rebut the darker and grittier sequel template. And holy shit, this is this is like the lightest, happiest sequel that you could possibly imagine. And it is sort of like a party movie. And in a skewed, ridiculous way, it almost feels like the first Muppet movie, where you have these wonderfully beloved characters that spend most of the movie on a road trip going to a show that will theoretically save the day in a metaphorical sense. And frankly, in tone, it feels like a Muppet movie, as silly as that sounds. And I really enjoyed it, which is just why it's all the more disappointing that I think the Magic Mike's Last Dance is terrible. It's weirdly tame. It feels like a movie intended for children or Puritans, and it's another movie that's a live action remake of Sing for some weird reason. And it operates as if the kind of feminism that the second film was espousing is still cutting edge and breakthrough in a way that is somewhat condescending and annoying.
I wildly disagree
because this film doesn't feel the need to comment on it, while that film tries to make a bunch of hoity-toity speeches about it. But whatever. We're not talking about the third film that I don't like. We're talking about the
I
second
think it's
film that I
after
do.
different things, but fine.
What was that?
I think it's after different things than you're saying, but fine.
Whatever.
It's lesser than this film. I agree. I think the second one is the best one of these.
Yeah, I do think in a skewed way this is better than the first one, if only because the first one. Well, I really like the fact that it's basically a Steven Soderbergh economic mobility drama that Warner Brothers brilliantly tricked everybody into seeing because by selling it as a stripper party movie. But hey, whatever gets in the theater, right?
Right.
I think the other problem with that first movie is Soderbergh's like, you know what would be nice? Filters. And it looks so ugly for a movie that's about male strippers, where this movie it's brighter, it's better looking to watch. Also, I like Last Dance. I think Last Dance is a better shot movie. Also, Salma Hayek's great in the movie. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Keep going. XXL.
It's not her fault. She's always generally good.
I think she's really good at
I don't like the movie.
Last Dance.
I like The Last Dance, but
if I wanted to see a mediocre remake of Sing, I'd watch The Greatest Showman.
There's a reason why that formula works. It's because it works.
But, yeah. It's again Muppet movie. But this film stood out then and now for a number of reasons. It is a macho film that was slightly ahead of its time in dealing with toxic masculinity merely by presenting men who are just aggressively not toxic, without really commenting on it in that particularly yellow highlighter kind of way.
There's a wonderful example that is Kevin Nash's character, who is this monstrous Tarzan character. He's so big, but that like one sequence where they're all getting up like one by one on stage, and he gets up and he takes out a fake compact and puts lipstick on his lips. It's so like, this guy is amazing. This is such a like of all people, Kevin fucking Nash is the guy that's doing this. It's so lovely. Like the movie's full of that kind of energy, which is just great.
Yeah. And it's certainly aged well by virtue of what it was trying to do, slightly ahead of the curve.
Oh yeah,
but it's also aged well again just by being a sequel that's lighter and more. I don't want to say wholesome, but yeah, sure, wholesome and just fun and escapist and weirdly conflict free in a way that you don't But then and now, again, I liked it then. I still like it now, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I like this movie quite a bit. I was late to the Magic Mike XXL train because I didn't see any of them till like the third one came out, and I prepped by going back to them. And first one was a pretty good movie, and then this one was like, wow, how come this isn't like boasted about? Because probably like insecure men or whatever afraid to watch it.
Nerds like claim it pretty hard.
Yeah.
Oh no, summer the discourse was pretty positive.
Yeah, this thing is a lot of fun. I almost, when Aaron and I did the action draft for Mark Hoffmeyer's movie film flicks, I almost took the gas station scene because with Joe Manganiello, I went it that way because that crushes. And Manganiello is quite good in this movie.
He's really fun here.
Yeah, he's quite good, and it's a very vulnerable performance too. Like,
he's good in a way where you're like, how is he not? And it's like, did Momoa just like steamroll over him at the right time? Because it seems like Manganiello should be in more stuff, and he's relegated to like supporting things in random other movies. And it's like, that's a shame because he seems like he's such big fun energy in the exact same way these other guys that are out there.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch the camaraderie, them talk about the dancing, everything. Like it's a movie that like it's a big comedy, and there's some funny stuff about these guys. But like, it never makes fun of them for what they're doing or what they love or everything. Like, it's never being ironic or poking fun or anything. Like, it is 100% genuine. Their whole journey. There's great little character arcs, journeys. That's the only conflicts here are their character choices and things like that. And
Jewish.
Watching Channing Tatum dance is stunning. Like,
this guy is great.
Awesome. Like, and the way, like, it sets itself up like we're going to go to this convention and we got to crush it here. And like, they do. Like, it is a hell of a thing. Like, that's where this movie could really fail if this doesn't work when they get there. And instead of even giving you a chance to breathe or maybe sit and reflect on, well, maybe that was kind of dumb, they just montage it and go to the credits, and it's an excellent choice. Because who gives a fuck what they got to do it.
This
is it.
It's
like,
not about the winning or lose. It's just like we made it here. We got to do the thing. That's
Aaron,
it.
all they do is win, 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 no matter what.
No matter what, yeah.
But yeah, and it is what this movie was. It's a hangout. We traveled across the state or whatever, and we got to this thing, and we had fun. I think Jada Pinkett's great in this too.
She's great in this, yeah.
Yeah, she looks like great too, like in this one, because sometimes, like, I don't know, with like Gotham stuff, I'm like, what were you doing to your face? But
here she gets to play like a madam, and it's like it's very much it's necessary for her to look as good as she can, and she does.
Yeah. But no,
I always forget Donald Glover's in this movie, which is
that's right.
It's so strict because since this is before like there's even a hint of solo for him, so he's not buff yet, right? He's not working out to get that like Atlanta solo weight that he got at, where he's like, he's not like swole, but he's certainly like bigger in 2018-19 because he started lifting weights. So here he's just like skinny Donald Glover. I'm like, this is so it's so random that he's like a part of this whole deal along with fucking Michael Strahan of all people. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, this movie, it hangs out. It takes a road trip and it stops at parties. Like, and that's what this is. And it's fun. Amber Heard's not too bad here. I was always a solid fan of hers, despite the craziness, I guess. But they just really make this thing work. And like the scene with Annie McDowell is amazing. In some other world, I mean, she would have got some major notice for just her little spot here.
The McDowell stuff's good. She gets more part, like, because that's at a point where McDowell just hasn't really been in much lately. Yeah. After this movie, she gets more. She starts being in more stuff. I'd imagine that's more of a conscious decision to just do more work, where she probably just kind of took a break for a while. But it's something I've noticed as far as her career went.
Is this the first? I can't recall like reconnecting with Soderbergh she done since Sex Lies Videotape.
That's a fun question. I think so.
I stupidly did not make that connection.
Yeah,
that's fun. I didn't think about it, but I don't believe I don't think he's in Full Frontal.
Now I want to see what James Spader would be like in this movie.
Well, no, he said he scripted out a Sex Lies sequel. Like he has that somewhere. Like it is.
No, in this movie.
No, in this movie, yes, he would. That's the worst version of the movie that does have like a gun plot where like McConaughey comes back and he's like, "Oh guys, you got to get back together. This evil guy's after me." It's fucking James Spader with his bald head and a hat.
You want to put moves on women walking around in your thongs and all your
super wholesome Stargate Spader,
your strobe lights and your pony songs. What you really need to value is what a man does, is what a man takes. Yeah.
Great Ultron impression.
Yeah. There you go. James Spader, Magic Mike, XXL.
It's funny, like Tatum, he has he's like Amber Heard in this movie. He has the daughter of the Warner Brother executive in the first movie. Mm-hmm. What clearly the benefit of the third movie is, he can move away from like white blonde women and be like, let me have a mature adult with Salma Hayek.
Right.
That's why that's the relationship that sticks in that movie.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. They don't work for him in this thing. No. And I love it's so silly, but like his introduction and when he hears the song and he like just can't help himself and then has the speech about it later. Like this, I mean, such good stuff throughout all this. It's insane.
My other favorite funny moment where like they're at Annie McDowell's house and they're like introducing themselves and Mike's introducing the other characters and he looks at Kevin Nash whose name is like Tarzan. I assume that's the only thing they ever call him. So he's literally forgot what his name is. And he's looking at Kevin Nash. He's like, and Ernest, yes, of course. Like that almost feels good enough to be like an improv. Like, what would his name be? And he just came up with Ernest on the spot.
That would be awesome.
It's so funny.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I could go on. Just I get the kids say glazing this movie, but it is really that much fun. That good. This is one of the best films of the summer, like no doubt.
It's in my top 10, I believe, right now on the letterbox list I will have published by the time this ends.
There we go. Stay tuned. Where is it now, folks? But yeah, we'll move on now to the Ryan Seacrest top 10, American top 40 for the week.
Broadcasting worldwide from the heart of Hollywood.
The hits and the stars who make them.
This is American Top 40.
Here's your host, Ryan Seacrest.
Here we go. Seacrest with you. The 40 biggest songs in the USA.
At number 10, slipping down, is Earned It, 50 Shades of Grey by The Weeknd. Number 9, moving up one spot, Honey, I'm Good by Andy Grammer. Moving up a spot as well, Hey Mama by David Guetta featuring Nicki Minaj and Afrojack. Dropping 2 spots, Want to Want Me, Jason Derulo. Staying at 6, Uptown Funk, Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars, which is also the biggest song of the decade. Number 5, dropping a spot, Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. Number 4, climbing 3 spots, Omi with Cheerleader. And the top 3 is the same. Trap Queen, Fetty Wap, Bad Blood, Taylor Swift, and once again, See You Again by Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So we will head on to our main event, the movie we're all looking forward to this summer. That James Cameron told us was the best since the ones he did.
Truly our Judgment Day.
Truly our Judgment Day. It's Terminator Genisys.
Witnesses say you were fighting with a man on the bridge. Don't talk much, do you?
You can't hold us here.
Who are you people?
We're here to stop the end of the world.
In less than 24 hours, the machines will rule this world.
Take my hand! Hurry!
Directed by Alan Taylor. Written by Leta Kalogridis and Patrick Lussier. Characters created by James Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Emilia Clarke, Jai Courtney, Jason Clarke, J.K. Simmons, Dio Akiniyi, Matt Smith, Courtney B. Vance, Lee Byung-hun, and Sandrine Holt. When John Connor, leader of the human resistance, sends Sergeant Kyle Reese back to 1984 to protect Sarah Connor and safeguard the future, an unexpected turn of events creates a fractured timeline. All right. Scott, why was this the, according to Forbes, best Terminator yet?
Well, there are other critics at Forbes, so I can't speak for all of them.
This one says S. Mendelson.
Damn it. This is one of those films that in 2015 sort of encapsulated everything wrong with modern franchise filmmaking. First of all, the last Terminator film had flopped, Terminator Salvation. So it's like, why the fuck are you making another one? Audiences said,
Terminator Salvation. Let's be clear.
Yes. Why are you making another one? Audiences clearly said, no, thank you. The time travel switcheroo, whatever, was basically saying, hey, that kind of worked for Star Trek. Let's do that with Terminator. And then it's funny because this film underwhelms. 6 months later, Force Awakens comes out. So then late 2019, we're like, okay, now we're doing Terminator Force Awakens style. Spoiler, that didn't work either. So I shudder to think, I don't know, is Terminator 7 going to be like fucking Barbie or something? I don't know. Minecraft movie, Terminator style. Oh, Jesus. That's gonna what I just will into the world.
Terminator jockey.
Oh, hell. This film is boring. It is badly acted. It is the kind of film that takes people that were supposed to be our big new stars and cast them as cardboard franchise cutouts that make you wonder, why the fuck do we think these people are supposed to be stars? Even though if you go back and see the stuff that got them first noticed, you're like, oh, they're interesting in that. It seems to think that what we really want in a Terminator movie is a puppy love romantic melodrama where our female lead is boring, but she's supposed to be a strong female character just because she speaks in action movie cliches and fires guns that is supposed to make her more interesting than an interesting three-dimensional character. Never mind the fact that we've already done the ass-kicking Sarah Connor back in 1991. The plot is only interesting to people that are so interested and invested in the Terminator mythology that the mere fact that things are happening differently is in itself exciting, which again is this weird thing that happens in a lot of franchise filmmaking right now, where it's like, this shit only matters if you worship this continuity. If you just take this as just a movie, you don't give a shit. It does potentially interesting things, like sends them to the future, and then they get to, for example, they get to 2017 and nothing interesting happens. It just looks like our world. That's nice. And it has a big plot twist involving a major legacy character, but it's so like wishy-washy about what that means that it's narratively and emotionally irrelevant.
Which you gave away in the trailers for the movie.
Which you gave away in the trailers, yes.
Late game trailer, like they were desperate.
Oh, that's my favorite part about this. This was sort of a thing back in 2015 where like, we're going to release a trailer, but if you like on Twitter, if you reshare or retweet our fan account, you'll get it faster. So when the Avengers Age of Ultron did this, the trailer got unlocked in like 3 hours. When Terminator Genisys did this, they gave up and just released it on their own like 12 hours later.
We're laughing at it.
Because it's like the film marketing equivalent of that scene at the end of Itchy and Scratchy Land in The Simpsons, where they go to, Euro Itchy and Scratchy Land, which obviously was a riff on Euro Disney, but like nobody cared. And
you can get it at the regular time. It's okay. Don't hurt yourselves.
Like everything around this movie is just so like, because we haven't even mentioned the Entertainment Weekly.
Oh yeah,
go for it.
That was they did this spread Entertainment Weekly that just made this movie look so bad, with everybody just being like with guns.
Yeah, they're holding guns and screaming. This definitely needs to be in the show notes for whatever this is. Oh my god!
Nobody can be told what the Entertainment Weekly Terminator Genisys first look photo spread is.
Yeah,
you have to see it for yourself.
Like I remember that somewhat dinged Prometheus because of like, why are we getting these terrible photos? And like somehow they're like, oh, hold my beer. They did this for Genisys.
Yes.
It's like, oh my god.
And then they get like towards the end, they get so like the tracking's obviously probably not doing good and stuff, and they get like they have the trailer with James Cameron like talking about how good it is
on his knees begging you to go see it.
and then and like his seal of approval, and then late they just like, you know what, let's spoil the big secret we have, and there's nothing left, literally nothing left after it.
And it's one of those films that I can't tell whether it was like reconfigured 1,000 times or whether it was one of those movies that they were sure they were going to get to make 2 or 3 more. So like, let's leave nothing resolved.
Yeah. I mean, there was it was a trilogy plan. And then there was also this like, well, who is Matt Smith playing in this? He's been cast in this bit, there's this mysterious Matt Smith role going on.
Snoke.
And yeah. And it was like, okay. And he won't be in much of this movie, but he's going to be in the next two quite a bit.
Wait.
Yeah, he's going to be in the next two quite a bit.
Box office dynamo, Matt Smith's going to really light this one on fire.
Yeah. But go ahead, Scott.
Oh no! I mean, we all. I mean, I'll let somebody else.
All right.
But yeah, this movie is fucking terrible, and it made me so angry because it's one of those. This is why cinema is losing to streaming kind of films, where it's like it's an IP that nobody actually wanted. They already said no, thank you at least once, and the fact that we get another fucking one 4 years later,
yeah,
is like And again, it's sort of like, it's again misreading the tea leaves. Oh, it did great in China. That must mean people want one. No, it was released after a blackout period in China where you couldn't have any Hollywood movies. It made 113 million in China. Great, right? No, that's off a 26 million opening day. People saw it in China. They said, this fucking sucks. And it was, it was done in like a week. So when Dark Fate comes out, shocker, it bombs in China too. Because spoiler, they have taste. They aren't fucking Borg that throw whatever piece of Hollywood shit you want at them. They didn't love every piece of Hollywood garbage. They just liked Transformers because it was weird. They liked Avengers because they were pretty good.
Just sit down. Stop standing up while you're yelling. Stop standing up while you're yelling this.
All right, Aaron.
I mean, to be fair, like Salvation presented this idea of maybe the future is the way to go with another Terminator, which I think is a novel idea. It's just a bad movie. I can understand the choice to be like, we're not completely done with Terminator. Let's go back and not do the future. I can understand the logic of that thinking. It's like, well, clearly they didn't want the future. We can make another Terminator, just not do that again. It failed for, we're about to talk about it. But I get where that comes from. Dark Fate, which I like more than you, is a similar case of, no, they didn't like that, so they're not going to like this much better, even though it is a better film by default. Regardless, I've made no secret that this is the worst film of the year for me. And between this and the previous year, or the year before that's Good Day to Die Hard, I don't know which one is worse between those two. I still don't, but they're both equally like worst films of the year as far as here's a franchise that I love in spirit, like in terms of the core films that represent that series, I am enamored with. I love it. I grew up with these things. And then you make these sequels where, like, what possibly happened? I guess I'd probably give the edge to this still being better than Good Day to Die Hard because at least Arnold seems like he cares. Where my issue of Good Day to Die Hard is Bruce Willis seemingly doesn't care about his character. That he, like, say what you will about like the Rambo and Rocky or Rambo films, Sylvester Stallone never seems to phone it in on those. Bruce Willis just like stopped trying, and it's like, God, that's annoying. This film, I get the impression that people tried, but I'm aware that it was a disastrous production. I know even the Fantastic Four production was making fun of this production. Like that's how bad this production was. And I'm never sympathetic to this film because Alan Taylor was first in line to be like, Marvel sucks. I hated working on Thor. Blah blah blah. This was so much better. And like, it's like, oh, so you just lied all the way through, huh? That's because you had a terrible time with this film. This is one of those movies where I got a whiff right away. Going into it, I'm an optimist. I want to I want everything to be good that I see, or else why am I spending my time here? I want everything to be good. I want to watch this movie and be like, the ads were whatever, but the movie actually worked out well. Going into this movie, watching the first couple minutes, I was like, oh no, this is not working out. The last time I had that feeling was actually Wolfman, when we recently saw that. Scott and I were in the theater where just the opening minutes, I'm like, I get what this tone's going to be, and I know this isn't going to work. And sure enough, this movie, the second you see San Francisco get blown away in an elaborate special effect that has no weight or meaning compared to any other Terminator film where you really feel the impact of a nuke, I'm like, oh, so we don't care. Like we're just using special effects to use special effects now. We're not like putting any weight behind it or any thought behind the implications of a nuclear bomb blowing up a major city. We're just doing that because it looks cool. Like, okay, so you lost me right away. And then the preceding movie does not help. Everything Scott said is accurate. It's a badly acted movie. It's poorly conceived. The plot is way too convoluted. You get too dumb to make me want to care about how convoluted it actually is. I think the time travel stuff is nonsense. Everything about let's replicate the same characters from the 84 film makes me want to bulge my eyes out and throw them at the screen. I can't stand every choice made with this movie. It's another example of Jai Courtney, an actor that I like from Spartacus, being thrown into action guy mode, and I'm like, God damn it, I know you're a good actor, be in better movies. And I get why you say yes. You're offered the lead of Terminator. So who's saying no? I get that. I get the understanding there. But boy, did he get between that and fucking Die Hard. It's like, oh my God.
If you want to kill your franchise dead, cast Jai Courtney in part 5.
Like, at least he's not eating anybody, so like he's not canceled, but good Lord, like he's not.
How did he not get into like Rambo Last Blood? Like he was getting the trifecta of the old guy. Like he went and
What's annoying is that he started out strong because he had Reacher, where he's like a solid bad guy because he does like
when he
it's like,
plays bad guys and he's allowed to use his accent and stuff like their character. Like he's great in Suicide Squad. And that movie's terrible, but he's
a shining light in it by comparison because he gets to
he's good in the second Divergent because he gets to be an asshole.
Yeah, I would agree, and that's a movie that is also garbage. But anyway, Emilia Clarke, who I have nothing against, is just bad here. Period. Arnold is too goofy. Like I know he's doing what he's making a choice, and clearly they're angling because this is the PG-13 Terminator, right? The second PG-13 Terminator.
Yep.
And I get that they're trying to like angle it a certain way so he can be like, yeah, he's Pops. He's the old relatable Terminator now. He's a dad. And I'm like, no. Like, it's watching the talk to the hand scene, but for like 2 hours. And I'm like, God, like, and I like Terminator 3 more than we all like Terminator 3.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, it is telling, and then I'll shut up. I like Terminator 3 a lot. I think Arnold is probably the worst thing in that movie by default.
That's
in this
fair.
film, he basically plays the same thing, and he is the best thing in this movie by default.
So, like, it has like all of that stuff, and that's what helps Dark Fate. Dark Fate, he's so much better because they give him something interesting to latch onto, which I really like. That's that middle section of that movie I think is really strong because of Arnold's aged acting, which we talked about in Maggie, how he's got to become this reflective character. I like that. He does that in Dark Fate. Here, with the gray hair, the jokes, including dick jokes, like what are we doing? The action in this is not memorable. It's just, CG splashed against things. Someone's gonna like yell at the podcast to be like, but the bridge scene in San Francisco, I'm like, fucking, I don't care.
Final Destination 5 did it better.
Yes, it does. This is a movie that made me hate Danny Dyson of all things. Like, why do I hate this kid now? Like, this movie makes so many terrible choices in regards to its Skynet plot that I do not care about. J.K. Simmons, fresh off an Oscar win, just like out to sea in this movie. He's like, I guess I gotta run around and say dialogue. Like, it's just so like poor.
Gotta make me understand.
It's just like it feels like there was a collective choice to make every wrong decision and somehow assemble that into a 2-hour movie. And I'm like, why? Why are you trying to make me hate this franchise? It's like I don't like Salvation, but at least McG seemed to have an idea that he wanted to explore, and it just feels like it got fucked up because Christian Bale was like, "What if I had more screen time?" And it's like
Salvation. Every time I watch it, it's like this would be pretty good if it wasn't a Terminator movie. It didn't have to swerve left on occasion to be a Terminator movie.
Like
I don't hate Dark Fate. I just resent its existence because of the harm that kind of thinking does to Hollywood and all that jazz. In a vacuum, it's okay.
I suppose. And I'm glad that like the Twitter army hasn't risen up and said Salvation's actually really great. Like I'm glad that we're still like, no, it's mid. Like whatever. I don't care about the movie.
Yeah.
But this Genisys, I'm especially glad that no one's risen up for this buddy. It's fine. It's a B movie. It's like, no, it's not. This is garbage.
There were some defenders when this came out. I'm
aware.
Oh no, it's better than 3. It's better than 3.
I pointed my fingers at them.
Fuck you.
This is a nonsense movie that makes every poor. We haven't even talked about fucking John Connor. Oh my god, this like everything. Like Jason Clarke's like, let me take a break from getting cucked by my wife so I can do this, and I'm like, all right, whatever. This is nonsense.
So you mentioned J.K. Simmons. He had my favorite part in this movie when they're like escaping the hospital or whatever, and he says, goddamn time traveling robots covering up their goddamn tracks. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one kind of like it smelled like it was gonna stink, or smelled pretty stinky from the outset. But like you have in this, and this is where we're finding out. We're already on to Jai Courtney being cast and things, but Emilia Clarke and Matt Smith, these up and comers. Poor bastards. Every franchise they touch ends up, Matt Smith has gone back to TV to great success with The Crown and the Game of Thrones, but turn all the dark way up show, House of Dragon.
House of the Dragon,
where he is like the the like star and favorite thing from people of that show.
He's a favorable element of that show.
Yeah,
yes.
he's gone back. I mean, his post Doctor Who, going to the movies things ends up being stuff like this, Morbius. He did the Brian Gosling directed movie.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, Amelia Clark does this. Oops, she goes to Star Wars. It's Solo. Goes to Marvel. It's the fucking Secret Invasion. Like that poor girl. I really feel because she's not bad at all. Just
so fucking charming in real life.
Yeah,
and however problematic it is, Me Before You. Yeah, I think it's called. She's delightful in that picture as just a ridiculously over the top gee whiz romantic lead.
She's finding that Paul Feig movie that every single person gets the twist of.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie they're doing the like I guess they're going for like what if a Back to the Future type thing, and it's not fun.
Well, it's Star Trek. It's 2009 Star Trek.
Yeah, one of my favorite films ever made is the original Terminator. Terminator 2 is fucking great. Like whichever one's your favorite, you're right between first two, and 3 is awesome in a movie I've had to not had to, but like I've defended for like Scott was one of my first people I met when I moved to LA that loved Terminator 3 just like I did. And then Salvation comes and I'm like, well, that was disappointing. And I didn't know I'd be even more disappointed. And it's come to be that like this Terminator, like I don't think I care about it as a franchise. I like 2 James Cameron movies. And then there's this third little curiosity. I think they lucked out.
And the Sarah Connor Chronicles was a really solid 2-season TV. I really like the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
It was a solid show. I wasn't as enamored with it as other people, but it was a solid show. But here's the thing. Terminator, like, they hit the reset button, like, way frequently. Like, it's not novel. It's not unique. It's tired and stale. First you go to Terminator 3. That's cool. Then you go... then the Sarah Connor Chronicles hits the reset button, pretends Terminator 3 didn't happen. Terminator Salvation, wishy-washy on whether or how
it's a
Terminator
3.
It is a sequel to 3 because Bryce Dallas Howard is playing
the female character.
That's your key that I think this is a sequel, but then it resets here, and then it goes and resets Dark Fate, but it's resetting and never living in that reset world long enough at all. Like when Halloween resets, you get Halloween H2O, and you get a Resurrection sequel to it. Then you go up the Rob Zombie remake that had a sequel to it, and then you got the David Gordon Green trilogy. So it's at least living it. Texas Chainsaw lives in its resets for a bit before it resets. So like Terminator,
they're also less. Let's to be fair, they're less complicated to reset those movies.
I suppose, but it's like Terminator's like, how about this one? No. What about this one? No. And Terminator is just like an anthology set of sequels now. Like that's all we got here. And this one
that does match with the idea of timelines changing because of time travel. Like I can get behind that to an extent, but I agree with what you're saying as far as accepting this world for its like looniness. Like it's hard to do when there's no real, especially when every fucking studio owns Terminator at one point. It doesn't make it easy, right?
Like how am I investing in this? Like you're just gonna scramble it up the next time. And this one, just like Jai Courtney's, just not engaging in the kind of they're trying to flip flop things, and it's just not working. And you're just like remembering the better version of it when they do it, and.
Because he does not have Michael Biehn energy at all in this movie.
No.
The original Terminator is one of the best, maybe the best low budget film of all time. For being super low budget, pulling off what they did.
It's in the conversation.
Yeah. And this does way fucking less with so much more. Like there's so much of this that feels claustrophobic, feels insular, all like the action scenes being super dark at night, not that investing, like just no. And there's the T-1000 thing that's just like here and gone real fast.
Well, there's no stakes, right? Because if you remove the T-1000 early on, you're like, so what's worse than that? Nanos?
Yeah,
That's
nanos are never
That's
interesting
so
to me.
boring.
They're so boring. They're like, okay, so we did the T1 first one's the Terminator, then we do the liquid Terminator, and then we do the Terminatrix, which she can control other machines, and she's like the T1000. And now they're like, then the next, we're in the future seeing earlier Terminators, but one that's
it's the key problem. It's that James Cameron like so upped the ante by doing the T1000 and T2, where it's like there's nothing cooler than that. Like it's just like that's the coolest it gets in the realm of like this kind of cyborg thing.
Well, and it just goes to the notion that Terminator was never intended to be a franchise.
No.
And there's this whole swath of, obviously some of these worked out better than others, so forgive me, but these big sci-fi action films or just action films, which James Cameron and or Arnold Schwarzenegger are a part of, that were successful because James Cameron and or Arnold Schwarzenegger were a part of it, that convinced Hollywood that they could be franchises. Rambo Part 2, written by Cameron. And he can say, oh, the politics, it's barely mine. Like, bullshit. That movie has the same arc as Aliens and Terminator 2, and that's fine. That's one of the reasons I like it.
If you present that movie differently, it changes the politics, I think.
In terms of your film
nerd,
if you direct that movie a certain way, you can change it to fit a certain mold, I think, in terms of how politics are handled.
But I mean, it's still, in terms of story, it's a James Cameron sequel.
Sure, yes.
And that's why it's, and, or with Schwarzenegger, it's, Terminator, Predator, Conan. Is like, no, these weren't franchises. They were cool because back when Arnold was super cool.
Well, I mean,
and that was,
for the film, for the film person, Terminator 3 is True Lies, because that's the next time they got together, collaborated, and threw you out a fantasy action movie. So you get that. But like Terminator as a franchise should have been left with its author. Like, Mostow makes lucks out, makes a solid movie, but like nobody's putting it up there with the first two. It's still a far cry from those first two, no matter how much I like it.
That picture, why does Terminator 3 exist? Because Terminator 2, because it was this lightning in a bottle, was the third biggest grossing movie of all time at the time. It was the third movie to top 500 million worldwide. Okay. But why do you make that one so huge? Two reasons. A, because Terminator 2 is huge, and B, because Arnold Schwarzenegger is about to run for governor, and he wants to look good by bringing this giant production to LA. And that is one reason why Terminator 3 was the most expensive movie ever in its initial budget. It was like 170 at the time, and it was 170. They didn't go over budget. So again, it's like, why does this movie exist? Because people want more Terminator movies? No, it exists because of this other specific shenanigans.
Well, and someone gets the rights and they want to make a movie too.
Yeah, the Warner Brothers gets it. But I would argue there is a contingent of Arnold fans that are always asking, when's Terminator 3 coming? Because we got 2, we're going to get 3, right? When's that going to happen?
Yeah.
I don't begrudge innocence as far as like people just wanting to see more of a thing they like. And some franchises can pay that off. You could argue about the box office vitality of Predator, but frankly, I love the Predator universe. I'm happy seeing more Predators. It helps that there are more good ones than bad ones. I don't mind that this seemingly one-off grunts versus a alien slasher movie turned into a massive franchise, massive in quotation marks, because frankly, I just like seeing this stuff. I like what they've developed. So you can target the same thing for Alien. Alien doesn't need to be more aliens, but hey, the second one was made by James fucking Cameron. The third one was made by David.
And that was
well, these Deathbot movies by Cameron also come with inspiration to push movie technology. And when you take it away from Cameron and you're going to like Mostow to make just another Terminator movie, well, the question never comes up like, well, how are we going to push technology with this one? We did it with there was no.
That's why I like 3 the way I do, because it feels like a movie that understands it can't be 2, and it just plays on its own rules.
Fair.
Yeah, it feels a lot, for better or worse, it feels like it feels closer in spirit to part 1, which is a gruesome and bloody and
run and gun car chase movie.
Horror movie.
Yeah.
Where this feels like, to speak of Genisys, that movie we're reviewing, this feels like an attempt to do something interesting. And the problem is, nothing about it is interesting.
No. Like
the problem is it assumes that the mere fact that it is a Terminator film where things happen differently than we remember is automatically interesting, and it has nothing else to offer.
Yeah.
And the reason I somewhat resent films like this, especially expensive films like this, again, Predator or whatever, those films are relatively comparatively inexpensive. They're B movies, whatever. Is that, again, it's this is what audiences think of when they think of theatrical entertainment, which is one reason why they don't go to the movies as much as they used to.
Well, this movie reeks of, hey, AI, make me a new Terminator movie.
Yeah. And the irony, of course, is that, audiences said no thank you right off the bat.
Yeah.
And yet we still keep giving them more. It's like, again, I don't mean to be a jerk about this, but it's like, I like Matrix Resurrections for what it is, but that movie bombed. Why the hell more Matrix movies?
But here's the thing, in the case of Terminator, we give them more, but this isn't like Warner Brothers keeps giving them more. Like the rights fall into different subsets hands,
which is itself a problem.
And they're like, well, we have something now. We have a franchise. Yeah. It's Terminator. We're going to be the ones to resuscitate it. And Terminator just came back last year in an anime for Netflix. So that's how far.
Which is pretty solid, by the way.
It is not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad.
There's less risk there. Also, it's an anime. I mean, it's not an attempt to make a trilogy.
it's interesting because it's not attaching itself to shit.
Yeah, it's not part of the Skywalker saga. It's its own thing.
It's doing its own thing, and this is just. And then the last card they have left is like, well, let's get Linda Hamilton back, and then that doesn't work. Like, so that's
because it's in the eyes of general consumers. This is just IP for the sake of IP. And even if Dark Fate is better, and yes, of course it is, they've been burned twice before.
Yeah.
Dark Fate, I mean, whether Dark Fate needs to exist, whatever. If that had been like even the follow-up to Salvation, it probably would have done better.
Well, I mean,
but after Salvation and after this monstrosity,
we're being kind because there's plenty of people that don't like 3. So there's people that haven't felt anything since 2. So they've been burned for multiple decades and are like, no fucking thanks. And they've done, like, it's not like these cards. So like the Terminator 3, Arnold's back, we're doing this, da da da. The next one's like, oh, well, Linda Hamilton has rights to it. She's producing, so she's back in a capacity. And I believe does a voiceover for it, correct?
In what?
Salvation?
She recorded some lines for like some tapes that Christian Bale.
Yeah. So she
basically did a favor. That's what she did.
Yeah, that was in the promotion for it though too. And then you got this. We're gonna give you the classic characters and the classic story again, but in a way you've never seen before. And
except not.
And it's the start of well, this is like, hey, like this is another thing with Terminator. This is the start of a new trilogy. Okay, now this one's the start of a new trilogy. This one's the start of a new trilogy. Dark Fate was the start of a new trilogy. Like, no, stop.
You know what my face was walking out of Genisys? It was disgust from inside out. That's what I was.
Yes. All we have is a trilogy of part 3s, which is a silly fucking thing now.
Yeah, and that's again, and even though it's 10 years ago,
and a part 3 spinoff like on TV.
Yeah,
like part 3 TV.
This still feels like sort of emblematic of everything that's wrong with modern Hollywood thinking that still happens. Because it's like, because IP or things that people who run the studios or write for the media or our shareholders have heard of still has more perceived value than either an original thing or, God forbid, something aimed at children. And I don't even mean like G-rated. I mean like, again, Sinners. To use, it's again, is it aimed at kids? No, but if you showed up this opening weekend and gave it an A+, that was probably because it was the coolest fucking thing you've ever seen. Just like when you were 8 years old and watched RoboCop when your parents were away, it was the coolest goddamn thing you've ever seen. But because that shit is still considered valuable, we keep trying again. And yes, it is partially because they keep changing hands. And it's like, because the library or the IP is so intrinsically valuable, allegedly, we've created this myth that, oh, we're going to do it better this time. And when the truth is just, it doesn't matter if it's better. Audiences have moved on.
They're not going to show up. Yeah. Like the only thing, I mean, James Cameron even produced Dark Fate. So that's like, his hands have been back there. And it's just.
And tried to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, famously took the film away from Tim Miller and tried to fix it.
I imagine he ghost directed a lot of it.
He did. He didn't ghost direct it. He very publicly took the film away from Tim Miller and redid it, essentially. So it's.
Oh, by the way, and you brought this up earlier, Aaron, but to elaborate on the point, if you are promoting film, do not trash your experience making the well-reviewed, commercially successful picture,
right?
And tell everybody basically that, no, that's not the film that I meant to make before this one comes out, where you say, this is totally my vision, and everybody fucking hates it.
Mm-hmm.
That will make you look like a bad director. And, we wonder why, Marvel was winning in the 2010s. They banked so much publicity on, we used de-aging technology to make Arnold look younger, and it looks okay. And then 2 weeks later, Ant-Man comes out, and with no fanfare, drops a flashback of Michael Douglas, who looks like
great.
He traveled from 1987.
It looks better than other Marvel movies.
Exactly.
I think it's maybe the best version of that beyond
it is.
Maybe Sam Jackson and Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I'll give Genisys credit for one thing. I don't think there's a worse big movie like this than this movie since then. Maybe Suicide Squad, but I was just going through my Letterboxd ratings, and I was thinking, there's nothing I dislike as much as this movie that's come out since this movie that's of this caliber.
This is my second time watching it since the theater. I saw it in the theater and then for this. And I'm just.
I did a recent Terminator rewatch, which I feel bad about now because it means I've had to watch Genisys twice within 8 months.
It's been 5 years for me.
Because I'm devoted.
I seem to watch it.
Because I'm devoted to this fucking podcast and have to watch it again.
Yeah. And I love any $180 million action spectacular where the thrilling climax is, let's shoot at screens.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh.
Well, I love Arnold. Gets it in the end. It's like, oh, sad. He's gone. They immediately walks to the door.
Oh no, he's even
I'm
better.
alive.
He's the best version ever now. He's the T-1000 Arnold.
Hey, I thought you died. Nope.
So mixed
How
response.
did you survive? Don't know.
So Scott, tell us about how this dominated the box office.
Oh, yes. Number one movie of the weekend, was it Terminator Genisys? No, it was Inside Out, repeating coming in number one in weekend 3 with $28 million over the 3-day weekend, minus 43%, $246 million by the end of day 17. Number 2, not Terminator Genisys, or how the fuck you pronounce this title, Jurassic World, 29.2. See, when you make a legacy sequel or whatever that's good, people show up. And then they keep showing up all fucking summer long.
Internet
crazy idea, I know.
The internet
I know.
is bad and failed.
Inside Out rising to number one in its third weekend after debut. That has to be some weird stat that's with Wedding Crashers and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or something like that.
It happens periodically, yeah.
Okay.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory opened at number one because it was.
Didn't Wedding Crashers eventually become number one at some point?
Oh yes, I apologize. Yes,
wasn't it, there's something about Mary? Didn't that in a late late
Yeah.
down the road it jumped to number one?
I want to say My Big Fat Greek Wedding, but don't quote me on that.
Nope, you're right. I'm pretty sure.
I'm thinking in terms of more the highest amount for a film to eventually rise to number one after debuting. It would have to be something like that, I assume.
No, you're absolutely right. And so Jurassic World has made $556 million by the end of day 24 because obviously nobody likes it. Terminator Genisys. Again, am I pronouncing the title right? I don't give a fuck.
Genisys.
Whatever. I've been saying it wrong for 10 years. I'm not going to stop now.
Terminator, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega Genesis.
Yeah, not gonna
That
stop
works.
you.
Well, I'm still waiting for Terminator, Super what fuck? Who cares?
Terminator's in time.
Yeah. $27 million over its 3-day opening weekend. It makes a whopping 42.4 over its 5-day opening weekend. For reference, Terminator Rise of the Machines made 43 million in its Friday to Sunday weekend, part of a $73 million Friday, Wednesday to Sunday weekend in 2003. It would eventually top out at approximately $90 million. And thanks to China, $440 million, which tricked Hollywood into thinking people wanted more of these.
Did Salvation open next to Night at the Museum? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Like in
And
Lost,
even
right?
then, Hollywood should have realized, hey, the new thing is doing better than the old thing. We should learn something from that.
Yeah.
And not to toot my own horn, but I was writing that in 2009.
Sure we're. You sure were.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Magic Mike XXL, $13 million Friday to Sunday, $28 million Wednesday to Friday. Obviously, that's less than Magic Mike. Understandably, that was an event. This was just a movie. But still, it does $123 million worldwide on a 15 budget.
That's more than I remembered. That's great for that movie.
Yeah, it did 66 domestic, again, on a 15 budget. So awesome.
That's why they made a third.
Yeah. It's one of those sequels that feels like a disappointment because it only does about what we expected from the first one. Ted 2, Neighbors 2, Wakanda Forever, frankly.
Would you argue? Here's a question. Is McConaughey a big enough star where that's maybe a main reason?
No.
You don't think him not being in it detracted from how much it could have made?
I mean,
it
might have made
too
a little
much.
bit more.
They wanted him, but it cost too much.
I'm sure, regardless of like the budgetary aspect, if people saw McConaughey on the poster with Tatum saying "coming soon," like the poster, which is hilarious, like, I have to imagine that maybe gives it more, some more peak interest.
A little bit, but I don't think it makes a huge difference in terms. Again, the first Magic Mike, which huge hit, it only did $167 million on a $7 million budget. So this one didn't do that much, quote unquote, worse than the first one did.
What about it? What about a Dallas Buyers Club reunion with McConaughey and box office dynamo Jared Leto on the poster?
Oh, dancing to his own music.
You have already done enough harm with your stupid ass ideas. For the record, this is being recorded 1 week after they announced a fucking Darth Maul cartoon show.
I believe we off air brought that into
off air.
existence.
I called that we were while we were recording. What if they announced this Darth Maul TV show? And sure enough, that actually did happen while we were recording.
Mm-hmm.
I blame you. I hope you know that. Meanwhile, Ted 2, $11 million, minus 67%. Ugh. 58 million after 10 days. It would top out at 215 on a 68 budget worldwide, which again is fine, just less than a lot less than the first one. Max does 6.6 million, drops 46%, 25 million in 10 days. Spy, $5 million in its 5th weekend, dropping 35%, 97 and change after a month. San Andreas, 2.8, minus 48%, 147 million after 6 weekends. Me, Earl, and the Giant Girl, 1.25, plus 26%, expands to 870 theaters, which I think is the widest it ever gets, but don't quote me on that.
Can this franchise be saved?
No.
Like, the Independence Day audience is going to love to see the Giant Girl.
They did not. 3.9 million after 24 days. Dope, still in the top 10. 1.1 million, minus 60%. Also loses 988 screens, unfortunately, in weekend 3. 14 million by the end of day 17. Faith of Our Fathers earns a whopping $433,000 in 344 theaters. 6/22 Wednesday to Sunday. It would top out at exactly $1 million.
Clearly, they should have cast Kevin Sorbo.
But not going to have done much worse. And what are we forgetting?
Cartel Land at number 50.
$16,000 in 2 theaters. It would eventually earn
Wait for it.
1.1 million worldwide. and I don't know if we're talking about it later, so forgive me if we are, but Amy, the Amy Winehouse documentary, opens in 6 theaters with $222,000. It would eventually earn $24 million over worldwide.
And the Oscar
8 domestic.
Yeah.
And again, I don't remember if we're discussing that. Forgive me if I'm being repetitious.
We're not going to talk about Amy.
It's fine.
I don't think we are.
It's a very good doc. It's a fucking leaps and bounds better than fucking Back in Black. That's for sure.
Most things are. And that's basically all the news box office wise.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this first weekend of July, as we are now past the halfway point. So thank you guys so much. Where can people keep up with you, Aaron?
Everything I do can be found on my personal Substack page, thecodazit.substack.com. I write movie reviews and am the editor-in-chief at We Live Entertainment. I have Blu-ray and Criterion reviews over at whysoblue.com. And I'm on all the socials at Aaron's PS4. I do host 2 other podcasts as well. I am the co-host of Out and Out with Aaron and Abe. My friend Abe, we talk about the weekly movie releases and do a lot of more fun other bonus stuff as well. And of course, I am the co-host of 2 Black Guys Talk Godzilla, where my friend and fellow film critic Terrence Johnson talk about the Godzilla films in chronological order. I was trying to find which Godzilla film we're talking about this week, which would be, hold on, give me 1 second.
Or is it an off week?
No, it might be an off week, but the one that would just have released would be both Frankenstein versus Baragon and the War of the Gargantuas. That's an episode I'm very much looking forward to doing. That can be found in both podcasts can be found everywhere you can find podcasts.
All right, Scott.
I am at the Outside Scoop at Substack. I am a semi-regular contributor to Buck News, and I operate the Box Office Podcast, a weekly conversation between myself and a handful of other younger, cooler, more culturally relevant box office pundits or film scholars, where we discuss what happened last weekend at a theater near you. I'm on all the socials and some variation of Scott Allen Mendelson. I'm not hard to find.
Holla at your boy. I'm on the socials at Brandon4KUHD. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for extra material like Blu-ray reviews and stuff. Next week, we have our first 5-film rodeo as we take on Aaron's favorite little guys, the Minions, and 4 other wonderful movies. As the summer of 2015 at 10 continues.
The summer of 2015 at 10.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.